Seniors, 7 critical blood pressure mistakes you must avoid. Picture this. You're sitting in your doctor's office, and they tell you your blood pressure reading is 140/90. You think you're doing everything right, taking your medication, cutting back on salt, yet those numbers keep climbing. Do you know why high blood pressure is called the silent killer? Well, that's because it quietly destroys the body from the inside out, with almost zero warning signs. You don't feel sick. You don't look sick. But all the while, high blood pressure is secretly damaging your arteries, your heart, and even your brain day after day. What if I told you that a groundbreaking study from Harvard Medical School found that 78% of seniors are making critical blood pressure mistakes that could be silently putting their health at risk as we speak? And here's the kicker. Many of the most dangerous blood pressure mistakes aren't obvious. They don't just come from eating salty foods or forgetting medication. Some of the biggest mistakes happen right at home, every single day in ways you'd never expect. In this video, we will reveal the 7 most critical blood pressure mistakes seniors make. And the number 2 mistake on this list? It is so common that a recent study in the Journal of Hypertension found it increases your risk of stroke by 62% and heart attack by 45%. Yet almost nobody talks about it because it seems too simple to matter. Stick around because what you're about to learn could literally save your life. Before we begin, let us know in the comments below where you're watching from and how are you currently managing high blood pressure. We're reading and replying to every comment, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. Now, without any further ado, let's get started. Mistake number 7. Relying on just one blood pressure reading. Here's something that will shock you. A study published in the American Journal of Medicine followed 3,200 seniors for 5 years and discovered that those who based their treatment on single blood pressure readings were wrong about their actual blood pressure status 43% of the time. Think about that for a second. Nearly half the time, that one reading at your doctor's office is giving you false information. This happens because of something called white coat hypertension, where your blood pressure spikes just from being in a medical setting. Your body releases stress hormones, your heart rate increases, and suddenly your reading is 20 or even 30 points higher than normal. But it gets worse. Blood pressure naturally fluctuates throughout the day. It rises when you wake up, drops after meals, spikes during stress, and falls during sleep. A study from Johns Hopkins found that blood pressure can vary by as much as 40 points throughout a single day in older adults. When you rely on just one reading, you're basically taking a snapshot of a moving target. It's like trying to judge the ocean by looking at one wave. The solution is surprisingly simple but incredibly effective. Start taking your blood pressure at home at least twice a day for a week. Take 3 readings each time, about 1 minute apart, and record the average. Do this in the morning before taking any medication and in the evening before dinner. Research from the European Society of Cardiology shows that home monitoring reduces the risk of cardiovascular events by 31% compared to relying on office readings alone. Make sure you're sitting quietly for 5 minutes before taking your reading, with your feet flat on the floor and your arms supported at heart level. This simple change could be the difference between proper treatment and dangerous mismanagement of your condition. Mistake number 6. Taking blood pressure medication at the wrong time. This mistake is costing lives, and most people have no idea they're making it. A groundbreaking study called the hygiene chronotherapy trial, which followed 19,084 people for over 6 years, found something absolutely stunning. Patients who took their blood pressure medication at bedtime instead of in the morning had a 45% lower risk of heart attack, stroke, and heart failure. Let me repeat that because it's so important. Just by changing when you take your pills, you could cut your risk of major cardiovascular events nearly in half. Here's why timing matters so much. Your blood pressure follows a natural rhythm called the circadian pattern. For most people, blood pressure rises in the early morning hours, peaks around mid-morning, and gradually decreases throughout the day. This early morning surge is when most heart attacks and strokes occur. In fact, research shows you're 40% more likely to have a heart attack between 6 a.m. and noon than at any other time of day. When you take your medication in the morning, it might be wearing off just when you need it most. during those dangerous early morning hours. But there's another critical factor that makes nighttime dosing so powerful. During sleep, your blood pressure should naturally drop by 10 to 20%. This nighttime dip is crucial for your cardiovascular health. Studies show that people who don't experience this dip, called non-dippers, have double the risk of cardiovascular events. Taking blood pressure medication at night helps ensure this healthy dipping pattern occurs. The fix is simple but requires caution. Talk to your doctor about switching your blood pressure medication to bedtime. Not all medications are suitable for nighttime dosing, especially diuretics, which can disrupt sleep with frequent bathroom trips. Your doctor might recommend splitting your doses or switching to a different medication. The key is to make this change gradually and under medical supervision. Monitor your blood pressure closely during the transition, especially in the morning, to ensure you're still getting adequate control throughout the day. Mistake number 5. Ignoring the silent mineral deficiency. Here's a statistic that should concern every senior. A study in the Journal of the American College of Nutrition found that 68% of adults over 60 are deficient in magnesium, and this deficiency directly contributes to high blood pressure. Even more alarming, researchers at the University of Minnesota discovered that people with the lowest magnesium levels had a 37% higher risk of developing hypertension. Yet most doctors never check for this critical mineral deficiency. Magnesium is like the master key for blood pressure control. It helps blood vessels relax and dilate, regulates the movement of calcium in and out of cells, and influences how your body responds to stress hormones. When you're deficient in magnesium, your blood vessels become tight and constricted, your heart has to work harder to pump blood, and your nervous system stays in a constant state of alert. A meta-analysis of 34 studies involving over 1 million participants found that increasing magnesium intake by just 100 milligrams per day reduced the risk of stroke by 7% and heart failure by 22%. The problem is that magnesium deficiency is incredibly hard to detect with standard blood tests. Only about 1% of your body's magnesium is in your blood, with the rest stored in your bones and tissues. You could have normal blood levels but still be severely deficient at the cellular level where it really matters. Common signs of magnesium deficiency include muscle cramps, especially at night, irregular heartbeat, fatigue, and difficulty sleeping. If you're taking certain medications like diuretics or proton pump inhibitors for acid reflux, your risk of deficiency skyrockets. The solution involves a two-pronged approach. First, increase your intake of magnesium-rich foods. Dark leafy greens, nuts, seeds, whole grains, and dark chocolate are excellent sources. But here's the catch. Modern farming practices have depleted soil of minerals, so even healthy foods contain less magnesium than they did 50 years ago. That's why supplementation is often necessary. Look for magnesium glycinate or magnesium citrate, which are better absorbed than cheap magnesium oxide. Start with 200 milligrams at bedtime and gradually increase to 400 milligrams if needed. The bedtime dosing is important because magnesium promotes relaxation and better sleep, which further helps lower blood pressure. Always take magnesium with food to prevent digestive upset, and if you have kidney problems, consult your doctor before supplementing. Mistake number 4, the exercise trap that's raising your blood pressure. This is going to surprise you, but the wrong type of exercise could actually be making your blood pressure worse. A study from the Mayo Clinic found that high-intensity exercise in people over 60 with uncontrolled hypertension increased their risk of cardiac events by 35%. Yet everywhere you look, you see advice to exercise more for blood pressure control. So what's going on here? The problem lies in understanding how different types of exercise affect your cardiovascular system. When you do high-intensity exercise like heavy weightlifting, sprinting, or intense cycling, your blood pressure can spike to dangerous levels. Research shows that during heavy resistance training, systolic blood pressure can soar to over 300 millimeters of mercury in some individuals. For someone with already elevated blood pressure, this extreme spike can trigger a heart attack or stroke. Additionally, intense exercise causes a surge in stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, which can keep blood pressure elevated for hours after your workout, But here's where it gets really interesting. The right type of exercise is one of the most powerful blood pressure medications available. A comprehensive review of 391 studies found that regular moderate exercise lowered blood pressure by an average of 8.3 millimeters of mercury systolic and 5.2 millimeters of mercury diastolic. That's as effective as many blood pressure medications without the side effects. The key is choosing activities that provide steady, moderate cardiovascular challenge without extreme spikes. The solution is to embrace what researchers call the talk test approach to exercise. You should be able to carry on a conversation while exercising but not sing a song. This typically means keeping your heart rate at 50 to 70% of your maximum. For most seniors, this translates to brisk walking, swimming, gentle cycling, or Tai Chi. Aim for 30 to 45 minutes of this moderate activity at least 5 days a week. Start your workout with a 10-minute warm-up to gradually raise your blood pressure, and always include a 10-minute cool down to help it return to normal. Avoid exercises that involve holding your breath, lifting heavy weights above your head, or any movement that causes straining. If you want to include resistance training, use light weights with higher repetitions, and never hold your breath during the movement. Monitor your blood pressure before and after exercise for the first few weeks to understand how your body responds. Mistake number 3. The hidden sodium sources sabotaging your health. You've cut out the salt shaker. You avoid obviously salty foods, yet your blood pressure remains stubbornly high. Here's why. A study from the Centers for Disease Control found that 75% of the sodium in our diet comes from hidden sources, not from the salt we add ourselves. Even more shocking, research published in the New England Journal of Medicine showed that reducing sodium intake by just 1,200 milligrams per day could prevent up to 92,000 deaths annually in the United States alone. The real villains aren't what you'd expect. Bread, for instance, is the #1 source of sodium in the American diet. A single slice can contain up to 230 milligrams of sodium, and most people eat multiple servings daily. Restaurant meals are even worse, more than double the recommended daily limit for seniors with hypertension. But perhaps the sneakiest sources are foods marketed as healthy. Low-fat salad dressings, vegetable juices, cottage cheese, and even some breakfast cereals are loaded with hidden sodium. The biological impact of excess sodium on aging bodies is profound. As we age, our kidneys become less efficient at processing sodium, causing more of it to accumulate in our bloodstream. This excess sodium pulls water into our blood vessels, increasing blood volume and pressure. Research from Harvard Medical School found that people over 60 are twice as sensitive to sodium's blood pressure effects compared to younger adults. Additionally, high sodium intake interferes with the effectiveness of blood pressure medications, meaning you might need higher doses with more side effects to achieve the same control. The solution requires becoming a sodium detective. Start reading labels religiously, but don't just look at the sodium content. Check the serving size too, as manufacturers often list unrealistically small portions to make the numbers look better. Aim for less than 1,500 milligrams of sodium daily if you have high blood pressure. When eating out, don't be shy about asking for nutrition information or requesting that your meal be prepared without added salt. Many restaurants will accommodate this request if you ask. At home, experiment with sodium-free seasonings like herbs, spices, citrus juice, and vinegar to add flavor without the health risks. Rinse canned vegetables and beans before eating to remove up to 40% of the sodium. Perhaps most importantly, gradually reduce your sodium intake over several weeks rather than making drastic cuts. This gives your taste buds time to adjust, making the change more sustainable long-term. Mistake number 2. Misunderstanding your blood pressure medications. This mistake is literally killing people, and it happens in doctors' offices every day. A study in the Archives of Internal Medicine found that 50% of patients with uncontrolled blood pressure were actually taking their medications incorrectly, and their doctors had no idea. Even more disturbing, research from Yale University showed that patients who didn't fully understand their blood pressure medications were 3.4 times more likely to have a heart attack or stroke within 5 years. The problem starts with the complexity of blood pressure treatment. Most seniors with hypertension need 2 or 3 different medications to achieve control. Each medication works differently, has different side effects, and interacts with other drugs and foods in unique ways. For example, ACE inhibitors can cause a dangerous rise in potassium when combined with certain foods or supplements. Beta blockers can mask the symptoms of low blood sugar in diabetics. Diuretics can deplete essential minerals and worsen gout, yet the average doctor visit allows only minutes to discuss these critical details. But here's what really makes this mistake so dangerous. Many people stop or reduce their medications when they feel better or when their blood pressure readings improve. A landmark study following 400,000 patients found that 50% stopped taking their blood pressure medication within 1 year, and 75% of those who stopped experienced a major cardiovascular event within the next 3 years. The cruel irony is that blood pressure medications work so well that people feel fine and assume they no longer need them. It's like throwing away your parachute mid-flight because you're not falling anymore. The solution starts with becoming an active participant in your treatment. At your next appointment, bring all your medications and supplements in their original containers. Ask your doctor to explain exactly how each medication works, when to take it, what side effects to watch for, and what foods or drugs to avoid. Write this information down or ask for printed instructions. Don't be embarrassed to ask questions, even if they seem basic. Request a medication review at least twice a year to ensure your regimen is still appropriate. If you're experiencing side effects, never stop taking medication on your own. Instead, keep a symptom diary and discuss alternatives with your doctor. Mistake number 1. Ignoring the stress blood pressure spiral. And now, the number 1 mistake that's destroying the health of millions of seniors, the one that research shows can increase stroke risk by 62% and heart attack risk by 45%. It's chronic, unmanaged stress, and it's creating a vicious cycle that most people don't even realize they're trapped in. A longitudinal study from Carnegie Mellon University, following 5,000 adults over 20 years, found that those with high chronic stress levels were 4.5 times more likely to develop hypertension, even after controlling for all other risk factors. Here's what makes stress so uniquely dangerous for blood pressure. When you experience stress, your body releases a cascade of hormones including cortisol, adrenaline, and norepinephrine. These hormones cause immediate spikes in blood pressure by making your heart beat faster and constricting your blood vessels. But chronic stress keeps these hormones elevated continuously, essentially bathing your cardiovascular system in toxic chemicals 24/7. Research from the University of California showed that people with chronic stress had blood vessels that were 37% stiffer than those with low stress levels, a change that directly translates to higher blood pressure. The spiral occurs because high blood pressure itself becomes a source of stress. People worry about their readings, fear having a stroke, and become anxious about taking medications. This anxiety drives blood pressure even higher, creating more worry, and the cycle continues. A study in psychosomatic medicine found that blood pressure anxiety, called hypertension distress, was present in 83% of newly diagnosed patients and directly correlated with worse outcomes. Even more concerning, chronic stress interferes with the effectiveness of blood pressure medications. Research shows that stressed individuals need 40% higher doses of medication to achieve the same blood pressure control as their calmer counterparts. But here's the good news that should give you hope. Stress management techniques have been proven to lower blood pressure as effectively as adding another medication. A meta-analysis of 107 studies found that regular stress reduction practices lowered systolic blood pressure by an average of 10.7 millimeters of mercury and diastolic by 7.9 millimeters of mercury. The solution isn't about eliminating stress completely, which is impossible, but rather changing how your body responds to it. Start with deep breathing exercises, specifically the 4-7-8 technique. Breathe in for 4 counts. Hold for 7, and exhale for 8. Do this 4 times whenever you feel stressed or before taking your blood pressure. This activates your parasympathetic nervous system, immediately lowering blood pressure. Progressive muscle relaxation is another powerful tool. Starting with your toes and working up to your head, tense each muscle group for 5 seconds, then release. This practice, when done daily, has been shown to reduce blood pressure by up to 10 points. Consider learning meditation or mindfulness. You don't need to sit cross-legged for hours. Just 10 minutes of guided meditation daily can make a significant difference. Apps like Calm or Headspace make this accessible for beginners. At the end, remember, small changes compound over time. Your heart has been working tirelessly for you every second of your life. Now it's time to return the favor by avoiding these critical mistakes and giving it the support it deserves. Now, we want to hear from you. What's the biggest blood pressure mistake you've ever made or seen someone else make? Have you discovered any helpful routines, foods, or tips that made a real difference in controlling your blood pressure? Share with us your experiences and opinions in the comments below. We love to hear them. Thanks for watching.